This is the all-new generation of the Astra, a fierce competitor of the VW Golf, both especially in Germany and the UK. Vauxhall and Opel here in the Opel trim, because we're today in Rüsselsheim, Germany, where this vehicle is also built for the worldwide markets. And you can see here the all-new Astra has this new Opel visor, so-called. So basically one Stormtrooper trim, and also you can get the Opel logo in black for a more sinister look. The lamps more integrated, LED as standard, optional a matrix LED, which you can also see right here now, or pixel light as Opel calls it. 84 single LED per side each. This is the ultimate trim, so a high trim level, and also in this golden color. You can see a more elegant appearance. We will also soon show you the sportier GS line as a comparison. As for the length and dimensions, they haven't changed that much, but design-wise definitely. Also here, for example, you can see this kind of middle power dome forming the so-called Opel Compass, a new design scheme they use. In the length, 4.37 m or 172 inches. These are the optional bigger 18-inch wheels for a sporty look. Cool styling, definitely. And you can also now get not only here the contrasting mirror caps, but also a contrasting roof in black. But if you like or prefer, you can also stay just with the unicolor. And if you compare it, for example, to the Toyota contrasting roof here, this one here is way better painted. There is a very soft transition right here between the two colors, so you cannot even feel it. But that is very well done, how two-tone paints should be. Also here, sporty design clues, look at that, reminding us also of past Opels or sports cars. Very interesting. There will be an all-electric version available, and also plug-in hybrid, the one you can see here now, but also normal combustion engines. Soon more deals to that. First of all, in the rear, once again, very modern design. As for the tail lamps right here, really horizontally drawn. And once again, you can get the Opel logo in black and the big Astra lettering. We see a lot of these big letterings here recently in the automotive industry. And is there any fake exhaust traffic? No, a very clean design here also, with some black contrast here. Overall, I have to say, this is a very, very clean design for this compact hatch. What's your first impression? Tell me in the comments. Heading towards the interior, there is no episode here on Autogefühl with Thomas without the famous door closing sound test. And that sounds very solid. Nice. Then, inside of the doors, here we have a high trim, some microfiber, really soft. That's also nice. Also soft touch on top, and also a very interesting structure here. That is very well done. Here, however, the rest for your elbow is soft, but it should be a little bit softer, I think, for long journeys. Then some piano lacquer here. That's maybe not that good, but we still have menu controls here, for example, for the side mirrors. Of course, then rather hardback in the lower part to be a little bit more sturdy. This is the ultimate trim level, one of the high trim levels next to the GS line. And completely new steering wheel, which also shows this Opel Compass, like this straight graphic right there. Very interesting and modern style, definitely. Very thick here, very slim in the lower part. The base version would start with PU if you want it animal-free. If you want the more elaborate assistance systems features, like with capacitive steering wheel for the cruise control and so on, then you have to go for the animal skin wrap. Zoomer to the screens, this is the so-called pure panel, an optional 2x10 inch. You always start with 2x10 inch, but then it's like a not covered in this glass and so on, so it looks a little bit more bezel-like. Soon more details to that. As for the seats, you have a comfort seat or a sport seat. This is the sport seat, and it also has the AGR option for more adjustability, and this is also the optional animal skin pack. However, the base seats would start with fabric each, and then you can also get Alcantara here on the inside and leatherette on the outside if you want it animal-free. So there are at least enough choices available. Let's get inside. And as for the base form of the seat, this is a compact hatch. And the ergonomics of the seat, first impression is actually quite good. Of course, when we drive the car very soon, we'll keep you updated as for the driving performance and also the comfort of the seat. But the first impression, really good, and also a lot to be adjusted. Lumbar support is right there. 2 memory functions, front, up, down, all electric. Then in this case, the base would start manual. You can also put this lower area a little bit longer right there. And they now use a lower seating position, and indeed it feels kind of sporty also with that steering wheel. And here, headroom with 1.86 m, 6'1", plenty of that left. And you know, they are inside the Stellantis corporation now, so not only PSA, so Peugeot, Citroën, Opel and all the Fiat brands, they are all now under one same roof, and Opel rather takes the more German sportier position in that one, also if you compare it to the French in-house competitors. I already see an optional head-up display, soon we take a deeper look at that. Would say, let's join me for the cockpit. And now you can see this pure panel, 2x 10-inch screens. This here, you know, the more elaborate function with a magnesium carrier behind and glass in the front. The base version would look a little bit less sophisticated actually, but you still would get 10-inch screens from left and right. So then depends if you really want to pay that option for that. Then you can also see the the adjustments here for the vents, like here. Here you first have to find them a little bit more integrated, so to speak. What is really cool, we have a lot of touch stuff here, yes, but we still have, for example, buttons here, seat heating, seat cooling, heated steering wheel. This also gives a feedback, although it's one field, and then separate climate knobs here still, warm and colder, great to have them, and also here a separate volume knob. This one stays still, the top part. Is then the ring behind it. Yeah, interesting. I would rather prefer turning the whole thing actually, but good to have still the menu controls. This is where Opel goes a little bit more in a conservative way, but in this case conservative is better because that's what we need and you want to control it while driving. The vents here, however, and then also the lower area here with this cover, this has rather a cheap impression also here for the cup holders and so on. So not sure. This is of course prototype stage still, a very early stage. So we'll keep you updated if that is being changed when we drive the car then. And in the top here in the lower part, this looks USB-A, but it is already USB-C. But they took the surrounding here from the USB-A still. But there's also inductive charging pad then in the lower part. Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, not working here yet in the prototype stage, but also wireless availability. Then shift-by-wire, shifting lever, so a very small shifting lever. This reminds us also of the new VW Golf 8 and driving mode selector right here if you want to go sports mode or the pure electric mode in this hybrid engine, for example. And then some more cabrioles here and also this split armrest. The screen, by the way, changes the color according to the driving mode. When I'm in the sport mode, it switches to red, what we don't see right now because it's not. Now it's working. Okay, yeah, that was kind of a moderation. So yeah, a little bit lagging behind here now. But as I said, the software is not on the best standard here for the show vehicle. Here you can also tune into the climate control in the infotainment system, and then you say, oh, I'm lost, and use the 3-finger skill here to always get back to the hidden main menu. Otherwise you can also use this home button right there or like this, but I mean the 3-finger tip is always good to have this kind of overview. I would prefer that. Overall, yeah, you see it's not that responsive yet. It's better than before. Also has a wider area here today at the Opel plant in Rüsselsheim, Germany. So it's not an infotainment system where I would immediately say like, oh, this really convinces me. You know, the thing today with Tesla and also with the Google-based Polestar system, for example, everything else just looks cheap. That's the way it is, and all the manufacturers have to deal with it. The digital instruments are clear to read. There's no analog anymore whatsoever. This being the plug-in hybrid here, 56 kilometers of range, pure electric range in this case then. So yeah, some 30 miles or something, and the big speed here. You can also adjust it later. At the moment it's still also in the prototype stage. Sorry for that. And this is the housing for the optional head-up display. At the moment we cannot show it to you, but we will of course soon when we drive the vehicle. And I also wonder if the steering wheel adjustment stays this way when you set it loose and then just hold it down and do not fix it immediately. So Opel engineers, I'll check out very soon with the final vehicle if this stays that way. The front seats are very thick and set on comfort, so yeah, and they also have not really, just slightly increased the wheelbase, so there's hardly space for your knees in the rear. So this is rather a small compact vehicle, let's take it that way. And yeah, the legroom in the rear is not really existent. It's rather like in some of the small segment vehicles actually. So when you have the base seats, you will have a little bit more legroom though. and hard pack materials at the inside of the doors. But the seating position itself, actually, when you would have shorter legs than I do, this is actually quite comfortable and ergonomic. So you have to be just short leg-wise, because headroom-wise, this is actually no problem at all. And then we have here the armrest with some adaptive cup holders right there. And in the middle part, one more USB-C charger, and also, when you have that option, 3-level seat heating for the rear seats. 422 up to 1,250 liters is the trunk capacity. Let's take a look right here. The normal length is here, 29 inches, 73 centimeters. The width, this is like a good standard 1 meter or 40 inches. And the height below the cover right here, 15 inches or almost 40 centimeters. The total height right here, about 24 inches, 60 centimeters. And below here, we have the battery for the plug-in hybrid, so it will be a little bit different than in the pure combustion engine versions, but here you have an even loading sill. Not too large actually, but still, nice from dimension how they cut it out here. Have you seen that here, by the way? Once again here, the folding Opel logo. We know it from Volkswagen, but looks quite fancy. This then here, when you have the combustion engine, the pure combustion engine, then you have another cubby space underneath in the trunk, so you can use it for whatever, or then you can take this one out, of course, completely, and then you have overall a little bit higher. And we also have a different color for you today. Here, the GS line in red. So when you take a look at the Ultimate and GS line, not too many differences. In the GS line, you always get the black Opel logo here, for example. When you would have had it in bright, it of course appears a little bit, more elegant. This way, the sporty look, definitely. In red, it works also very well, this new vehicle here, with a very clean design overall. I like that. 18-inch wheels here also, the optional ones. And of course, you can start with smaller wheels, have a little bit more comfort then. As for the chassis, by the way, 15% higher torsional rigidity now. And talking about torsion, in the rear axle, they still use a torsion beam. So there, for example, the competitors with an adaptive suspension and also option more elaborated rear axle might have an advantage. We'll, however, see how that one plays out then when we later drive that vehicle. And here with this vehicle, the GS line on the interior, we can see the Alcantara seats. Alcantara on the middle part, and then the outside is also leather red. So the product manager said that one is then animal free, but looks also quite fancy. It looks even more elegant, actually more premium than the animal skin seat. And let me take a seat actually to compare the comfort. Of course, this one brings you more climate comfort because it will stay cooler in summertime and warmer in winter. And indeed, it's a little bit cozier, and also you don't slide on it that much. And when you have that Alcantara package, you also have it in the rear, same styling, that looks cool. And in this funny seat box here, we can show you how a lower trim would look like, which to me looks higher trim, because these fabric seats here in the gray styling are actually super cool. I mean, I would definitely all the time would go for these. I mean, that looks fancy and also feels very nice. And this is, not available yet. Here, the microfiber steering wheel, which looks super fancy and racy. They are working on something like this to offer a full animal-free interior, and this could be one solution. I really hope they would go for that, to offer that. If you also like it, put it in the comments. And this, by the way, also how the manual gearbox then looks in the vehicle. Not 100% final, maybe, but that you get a glimpse of how a lower trim version could look like. To me, definitely, way to go. As for engines, let's start the other way around. There will be in 2022 an all-electric version, the Astra E. Soon more deals to that here also on our channel. Then you'll already have a plug-in hybrid, 180 or 225 horsepower from a 1.6 liter turbo petrol engine, plus then the electric drive, all powering the front wheels. And then the pure combustion engines, 1.5 liter diesel, 130 horsepower, or then here this 3-cylinder turbo petrol engine, 1.2 liter with 110 or 130 horsepower. Here we have a great opportunity to show you the heritage of the compact Opel model, starting with the Kadett 1936. The Kadett was actually then the pre-name before the Astra came. This then the next Kadett generation, a little bit more boxy style, definitely here towards the 60s or 70s. You can always see the year in the background. This one also a very famous one, the Kadett C. actually with this, overlapping front here like the Manta had, a very sporty design at that point. Then you see it kind of changed to a more, practical design here with the Kadett D, and design got a little bit more roundish, like here. This to me here, probably the ugliest model in the lineup. I really like the Kadett C, for example, with sporty and overlapping front and so on. The Astra F was extremely popular, and I also know it from my generation. A lot of good friends had these ones, for example, as first vehicle, as a used one, and they ran actually quite well. Then the Astra G with this kind of mix of hatch and sedan style is a very interesting design approach. And then one of the most liked models was here the Astra H, which really had a sporty design, here of course in the sporty trim, but this one was really loved, especially by young drivers. Further on, the Astra J, they did not go for an Astra I, by the way, because when you say like E in Germany, it's like, oh, like E in Germany. Therefore, they left out this, this letter, and therefore it's HJK. This one then, the Astra K, the previous generation from the new one, which already went again, in the more streamlined visual appearance. So very interesting to see this actually, and well, glimpse of the future could be the Manta GSE Electromod. So they took an old chassis and made this one electric. Pretty spectacular, but today, of course, it was all about the all-new Astra generation. What do you think also when you saw here, the old models? Of course, competitors, the VW Golf 8, and also the internally from the corporation, the Peugeot 308 in a new generation. See at these videos.